Hello, everybody. This is Michael of the Green Bay Pachirisus, and I am pleased to announce that this is the Lounge's Pokemon Draft League Season 2. Today, I am joined by the coach of Team Fish here. Why don't you say hi?
Hey guys, my name is Eric, also known as the Big Fishmonger, and I am pleased to join Michael today as we talk about season two and everyone's draft picks and go into detail about what's going to be happening this next season.
Yeah, I'm so hyped to finally get started on Season 2. Um, we've been playing this for so long, and now that everybody's just we're finally getting through with all the Season 1 videos, just going in straight in for Season 2, just jumping right in. So
Yeah,
we're going to start
so
off here, just going with
well, I
the
was going to say real quick, season one was kind of scuffed. We had an idea and we jumped right into it without a lot of planning, and it worked. We had a lot of fun, but with season two, we wanted to try to be a bit more formal with how we went about things, both in terms of how we do the draft and how we're going to do the videos. That way, this can be a bit more of a I don't want to say professional, but more organized draft league than what we did season one.
for sure. Like everything about Season 2 is going to be way more organized than Season 1. Season 1 is very just like very scuffed, as you say. Scuffed is the right word. It was functional, but not optimal. This time we're having a lot more professionalism, a lot more just like quality of life things going in with it. So first, we're going to talk about the rules. Things have changed since season one. So the new league rules, we are actually drafting on a point-based system, not tier-based. So before we went OU, UU, RU, NU, and PU Pokemon. Now we're just drafting based on points. Each Pokemon had a specific point limit tied to them, and we had 115 points to use, which allowed for about 9 to 12 Pokemon per team. Standard small gun battle rules apply, and we're conducting this in a round robin bracket where every player fights each other once. A
Yeah, we
couple
also
other
have a
rules.
couple we have a couple of house rules. So you can't draft duplicate forms of the same Pokemon. So no Hisuian forms of the same Pokemon. We wanted everyone to have a very unique and distinct team from each other. And also things like Shed Tail, Last Respects, and Revival Blessing, we just felt weren't competitive enough for what we were trying to do. We wanted this to be clean, you know? And Last
Mm-hmm.
Respects, Shed Tail, Revival Blessing, these are all moves that kind of stir up the game in a way that we didn't really want to deal with. So those are a couple small house bands that we decided would be fair and everyone agreed upon before
Yeah,
we started anything.
for sure. After my battle with Jake in season one, yeah, Revival Blessing is definitely banned.
Yeah, I will say too, I was very happy with this new point-based system. Previously what we did was we would draft everyone would draft their two OU picks first, then their two underused picks first, and so on down that line. But the way this new system allowed us to draft is you could pick the highest point value Pokemon you wanted for your first round, or if you thought a 10-point Pokemon was going to be a high contention pick later, you could pick that round one if you really wanted to jump right in there.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
it lended itself to a lot more creativity with how you drafted your teams instead of just picking your two strongest first and your two next strongest for the next round, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
This
It
uh, this
also,
this was a bit yeah,
and
yeah, go on.
I would say it also allowed for more, like I guess stronger picks in general. Because once you got down to like the NU and PU Pokemon, like not many people brought their weaker Pokemon. Um,
Yeah, when one OU Pokemon is equivalent to two or three PU Pokemon, there's no point in bringing any
yeah,
of those.
there's just like too
So this
much
lets us
of an
have
opportunity cost there.
yeah, we can have more competitively interesting teams now.
Exactly. One of the things that I wanted to do was to spice up the team building dynamic because I've noticed with you and with Kyle, you guys just brought like the same 5 to 6 Pokemon.
Okay, yeah, me no, okay, bringing the same team 5 times in a row without changing any moves was a strategy, okay? I
Uh huh.
it was really smart and calculated. Uh
It was very,
I,
yes,
you
it was big brain.
can't blame me. Can't blame me.
All right, and one more thing that we're changing, whereas the last league it was kind of free Terra, like you can Terra any Pokemon. This time we are having a new system where it's called low tier Terra, where Pokemon of only 9 points or lower are allowed to Terra, and each team has a max sum of 15 points to use on their Terra captains. So, for instance, Lucario is 9 points, and something like Hisuian Typhlosion is 6 points. That adds up to 15 points. So both of those can be used on the same team. But you can't have two 9 point Pokemon as a Terra Captain because that's over 15. You can have a max of 3 Terra Captains, but most people only have around 2, and that's completely fine. Some people only
Some
have
of us
one.
have one.
Yeah, and that's completely fine too. Um, as long as it's under 15 points and Pokemon only 9 points or lower, they can terrestrialize. And speaking of which, any Pokemon that is considered a Terra Captain can Terra into any type, but they have to be declared at the beginning of the season. And if you want to change it, you would have to give up a free agent trade. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that kind of hits every point for how terrorists are going to work this season.
Yeah, I
Um,
felt it was actually your.
I'd say, yeah, the main thing here is just by only letting the lower point value Pokemon have the access to the main gimmick of this generation, it allows for Pokemon that would usually be considered weaker to get this advantage. Well, the ones that would really steep snowball out of control with Terra, like Regieleki, is banned in the normal format where it can Terra to anything it wants. But because we have restricted what is allowed to Terra, Regieleki is now in a far lower point range because it's not capable of augmenting its offensive powers. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's changes like that that make this a lot more interesting because the strong things don't have this advantage, but the things that really need it can utilize that.
Right. And it was kind of interesting balancing that too, because I knew Regieleki is really strong, but without Terra, it's not that good. Espathra is really good as well. It's in Ubers for a reason, but without Terra, it can kind of get checked by certain Pokemon like King Gambit and other things because its typing just doesn't allow it to have
Doesn't
like
have the best
coverage.
coverage, yeah.
Right. Um, and so then yeah, balancing that was also really interesting. It adds like a more balance to lower Pokemon that need that Terra boost in order to catch up to like the big strong guys because we have a lot of legendaries now with the release of Pokemon Home. So adding that definitely spruces up the dynamic of battles. And with that, we'll go ahead and just start with our first team. First up is Ben of the Unovan Rat Packs, also known as Wallace Locomotive on Showdown, that you might have seen. He drafted first, so he had the first round pick.
Yeah, so I don't know if the way we have these ordered is based on the order we picked. I don't think it is, but the way we did our draft picks were based on the reverse order of how we placed season one. Our loser from season one is no longer participating in the season, which is fine. But
Mm-hmm.
that means Ben was the one who got to pick first this season, which, when you're given access to, Uber Pokemon or the best OU Pokemon around, and you get the first pick, um, that's pretty scary for the rest of us. So it's really interesting to me that he chose to pick Sneasler as his number one Pokemon.
Yeah, Sneasler is really crazy as for a round. I mean, it is worthy of a round one pick. I feel like
It is
everybody was
totally
kind
a
of
round one pick.
yeah. It's got crazy offensive stats, Dire Claw, and two good abilities in Poison Touch and Unburden. Yeah, because Unburden you can make
Yeah,
it like you can have like some crazy strats with like Air Balloon or even like not Clear Amulet, White Herb, or like you can run like Terrain, like Grassy Seed, or um, if you're doing like Electric Seed, if you're doing Electric Terrain, it can be pretty interesting, and it gets acrobatics as well. So that just makes its like no item, strategy even better.
Yeah, for
Overall,
sure.
this team is
I
really
mean,
fast.
yeah, so that's something that I noticed when we were doing the draft was Ben's team is extremely fast. And even the things that might not be initially fast, like Basque Legion's not that fast, but it has Swift Swim. And so does Barraskewda. Or Salamence gets Dragon Dance. Electrode is the fastest thing in the league that isn't Regieleki. Um, Grafia has Prankster. The only thing he has that's not fast is Ursaluna. And I thought it was really interesting because the first season Ben did a Trick Room team and optimized for having the slowest Pokemon he could possibly have. So his choice to completely switch his strategy from
His
being the
main
slowest
strategy.
player to the fastest, I actually kind of like that.
It's so crazy. Like, yeah, literally
It's a crazy flip, yeah.
there's three Pokemon on his team out of 12 that are lower than base 100, and that's Ursaluna, Diancie, and Rotom Heat. Everything else, because I think Alolan Doug Trio has the same stats as regular Doug Trio. I might be mistaken, but everything is at or above base 100 speed, which is insane.
Crazy.
What do you feel of his Terra captains?
So
Grafaiai and yeah,
I
Bascuda.
noticed Grafia. I feel like he just picked because he could. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of gives him a couple extra options, but Grafia is not famous for its
Yeah,
like base. It has 110 base speed and 95 base attack. It's it can hit you, but it's not going to hit you very hard. So I think that's more just because he could pick another one, he picked an extra one.
mm-hmm.
Barraskewda is the real Terra pick here, and I think that's the one. If he does bring out Barraskewda in a game, he is going to use its Terra type,
Yeah,
and I
Terra
feel
Water.
like I can say in confidence, like yeah, it's he's going to use Terra Water. Um, Terra Water Barraskewda with liquidation is it's it verges on unfair. This Pokemon is so fast, and it's got 123 base attack. Yeah, it's faster than Iron Bundle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, no,
it's like
it's tied
incredibly fast.
tied with Iron Bundle without needing Swift Swim. Um, if he can set up rain somehow, which I could totally see him finding some way to do that. Um, Suddenly he's got the absolute fastest Pokemon in the entire league with a Terra Water liquidation, and
That
he could
just
use a
pokes
choice
holes through
band.
teams,
He
and you
could
can just run
throw
choice
a
band.
choice
Yeah,
band on there. Exactly.
that's
And
all you
on top
need.
of that, he also has the I don't remember what his exact name, but he has the water Tauros.
Yeah,
It
Paldean,
gets wave
Tauros,
crash.
Aqua.
Paldean Tauros Aqua, sure, but that gets wave crash. Uh, he has yet another thing that if he sets up rain, can just go wild with and Bastion Legion can do the same thing. Swift swim wave crash.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get the Terra type, but it doesn't really matter. They're both really strong on their own.
I mean, Baskia Legion, I think it does get adaptability, so it kind of does get Terra in a way.
Basically, yeah.
But then you would have to get rid
Yes,
of Swift one. But yeah,
I think another pick that he made that I want to draw attention to was his um Hisuian Electrode.
you know what? I was surprised he didn't make that his Terra Captain because it's
I am
basically
I
Regieleki at home.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's when we were doing our draft. That's what I was talking to him about, and he got kind of mad at me for mentioning how good Electrode could be before he had a chance to draft it. Because it is the only thing in the league. It is the fastest thing in the league that can use the Terra type, and
Mm-hmm.
having Electric Stab, it has a powerful Electric and Grass type stab moves, and if you can add like a Terra Ice onto that, you have I'm pretty sure near universal coverage. Like there's a couple types you can't hit, but there's nothing that resists you anymore.
Yeah, I think with the combination of electric, grass, and ice stabs, you're either hitting everything neutral or super effective.
Super effective, yeah. And granted, Electrode only has base 80 special attack, but you can still run like a choice specs on this or a life orb and give yourself these little boosts. And Electrode could be a crazy late game sweeper. I mean, even without Terra Ice, it could still be a crazy late game sweeper. But
Hmm. Yeah, for
and I think
real.
doesn't it have a grass type equivalent to explosion now?
It has.
Yeah, Chloroblast.
Hmm.
50 lose 50% of your max HP and a 150 base power grass type move. If you set your HP EVs to be an odd number, you can use that 3 times.
Yeah, and you could just nuke everything. Maybe not
As long
everything,
as there's
but
not
at
as long
least
as there's
deal
not hazard on
significant
the team
damage.
though.
Yeah.
Um and any team that's got any weakness to grass type would hate to run into the electrode there. So that I think even though it's one of his lower later on in the draft choices, I think it's got a lot of potential.
I was looking here since he's got so many. He's got okay. Well, first he's got so many fast Pokemon that he can take advantage of. Like, as we mentioned, Regieleki, Sneasler, Hisuian Electrode, all these Barraskewda, all these Pokemon. But if you try to counter him with like a Trick Room team, he's got Ursaluna, and he's got Diancie there.
Exactly.
Like those two are just like are major abusers of Trick Room. So you can't even like reliably do that. Like speed control with against Ben is going to be really really hard to overcome. Because either
Yeah,
he's
you
faster
almost
than you or Trick Room, and then he's faster than you again.
it would almost be worth just investing in bulk on your Pokemon because he's going to outspeed you anyways. So trying to outspeed him almost isn't worth
Yeah,
it sometimes.
he's either
Um,
outspeeding you or not. So is there really any point?
yeah. Uh, I, this is something that'll come up later when we look at the other picks that people made for the season. But I think Diancie is actually going to be a terrifying. Uh, I don't want to say like sleeper pick, but you know, I don't think Diancie has been in uh, anybody's mind, especially considering the season as a major threat. But as you'll come to see, a lot of our teams have one weakness in common. We are all very weak to the rock type. Um,
Hmm.
or a lot of our teams share a common rock weakness, and Diancie can set up stealth rocks, of course, but it also has Diamond Storm, which is 100 base power, 95 accuracy, physical rock move that can double his defense. That's crazy.
And doesn't it get body press as well? So like,
Yeah, it also gets body press.
and it already has a
Um,
150 defense. So yeah, that's gonna
yeah,
do
a
damage.
100, yeah, or even just but like a 100 base attack stat with, excuse me, a 100 power physical rock move. It, like no other Pokemon is that. This is blatantly better than Stone Edge and Rock Slide and all those other moves.
Hmm.
So Diancie might be slow, but it has a certain tool that's going to be very useful almost universally in this league.
And why don't we just go to the next one since I think we're all done talking about Ben's
Yeah, let's,
draft. Ben's got an excellent draft. We'll go to Josh. Um, Also, NC Star, the Iron Joshulars. He, I love his team. I'm gonna be honest. I love his team.
I
Uh,
like the bold risk he took to draft Galarian Slowking as his first pick.
yeah.
That's something you and I talked about before, but usually the first pick is reserved for the things that are, you know, the highest caliber Pokemon, the fastest, strongest, hardest hitting things. Um, but he chose a slow support Pokemon as his first pick,
Mm-hmm.
and it paid off because I think just about everyone in that room was uh had a sigh of disappointment when they saw him take that because we all wanted it.
Everybody wanted it. I wanted it. I know you wanted it.
I
Um,
wanted it, yeah.
it's such like a good support Pokemon, but we're like, I don't think anybody's gonna pick it round
Yeah,
one.
nobody's gonna take it round one.
It really
Um,
did surprise me when he took Galarian Slowking round one.
and you have to also keep in mind we are currently in a generation where Toxic is not a move that every single Pokemon can learn. Galarian Slowking is one of the I don't want to say one of the few, but it's one of the only prominent Pokemon that exists right now that can just straight up use Toxic, um, which is crazy. It shuts down so. I know Josh here also has Ting Lu, but like if you have a defensive wall, he has something that can chip away at it across the course of an entire game
Hmm.
with one move.
Even not
Uh,
even just like walls too. You can toxic because it's so bulky,
because
naturally
it's so
bulky. You
yeah,
can switch in, take a hit, toxic it, then put it on a timer.
exactly. And I'm almost acting like Toxic is its signature move, but I think we should draw attention to Slowking in general's signature move, which is Chilly Reception. Why does it have a, a snow move as its signature move? I don't know, but a negative priority pivot move that sets up snow is crazy good. It also gets because Slowking has Regenerator, it gets to take advantage of that too.
Mm-hmm.
It gets free switches into any of his other Pokemon.
Free
Now
switch
Josh,
into yeah, like
yeah,
Masquerada.
free switch, and he gets to heal with Regenerator, which
Yes,
is crazy.
it's
I
so.
think, but the only downside I see though is Josh's team doesn't take advantage of snow very well. He
I feel
has
like
Articuno,
yeah, Articuno. That's it.
and that's kind of it. Because all snow in this generation gives you a 1.5 times boost to your defense stat if you are an ice type, and it also makes Blizzard 100% accurate. And those are really the only main things it will do
Mm-hmm.
outside of more niche effects. And Articuno is the only thing he has that can realistically take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's. I feel like if you had like a slush rush Pokemon on there, for like a potential sweep, maybe he could do that. Um, but honestly, I don't think
Yeah,
you need a Pokemon to take advantage of the snow. I think just pivoting in general to like a fast
pivoting, yeah,
Pokemon,
a negative priority pivot move on a slow Pokemon is
it's
so good on
already
its
good.
own. In what was it? Gen 8, Slowking would use teleport.
Hmm.
Teleport didn't set up snow, but it did the same thing. They gave it negative priority in those games, and it let him switch out safely into his stronger teammates. If he goes in there and uses toxic, then he can quickly pivot into his namesake, Iron Jugulus, and
Yeah.
go to town with a fast dark type.
Or even like a Meowscarada. He's got Quaquaval. Even Cleavor can do good because they're all pretty frail. Not can't really switch
I
in, but with chili
I
reception, that
think
just opens up.
yeah, Cleavor again, like we mentioned this with Ben's team, but Cleavor with its signature move, well, what is that called?
Stone
The
Axe.
Stone Axe,
Hmm.
yeah, where it can set up a Stealth Rock while attacking you, and everybody here is pretty weak to Rock type generally. Uh, well, I mean, like, yeah, look at Josh's team. Moltres is 4 times weak to Rock. Articuno is 4 times weak to Rock. Iron Jugulus is weak to Rock. Enamorus is weak to Rock. Uh, even Cleavor is neutral to Rock. Like,
Yeah, he has rock answers, but that's That's yeah, four Pokemon
yeah,
that are weak to
and
rock.
that's two quad Rock weaknesses. So, I mean, this is just kind of showing how important having Rock coverage seems to be, at least early on in this
Yeah.
league. Um, so being able to set up Stealth Rock and have a very strong, hard hitting Rock type is crazy. It's really important. I keep using crazy. I want to try to mix up my but it's crazy. It is
Radical.
crazy. It's actually, but there's so many things to consider. So I'm very excited to see where this goes.
Yeah.
I
Cl-
want to shed some light on this real quick.
Go ahead.
He drafted Enamorus, but Enamorus Therian specifically.
Hmm.
Uh, it has 135 base special attack. It's very bulky. Yeah, it's actually incredibly bulky, and it
Incredibly
hits
bulky.
really hard. But it has 46 base speed. It's slower than Ting Lu. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do with this thing. I mean, fairy and flying type those are both very great types for coverage.
I feel like it can be better
Enamor,
for like defensively against like fighting types. Um,
yeah,
he does
yeah, like
have.
Enamorus, unless you have a certain Enamorus doesn't have any significant weaknesses. It's not like Landorus that has a quad ice weakness or something. Um, so especially considering how bulky it is, it's not threatened by anything directly. And if you can switch it in on a fighting or a dark type, or even like a ground type, there's not much they can do to you. And Enamorus does have a signature move. It's called a Springtide Storm.
Mhm.
It's a 100 power special fairy move with a 30% chance to lower attack.
It's like
I
it's like a burn, but not as good.
Not quite as good. I find that interesting because Enamorus also has Moonblast, which has 5 less base power, but 100 accuracy instead of 80 accuracy. And it also has it has a 30% chance to lower special attack. I like this isn't related to the draft, but I almost feel like that wasn't very good planning on the developer's side because Moonblast is just better.
Well, I feel like even with the other genies, like they all have their own special
Yeah.
like move. Like Tornadus has Bleak Windstorm. I think
Landorus
Landorus
has
got
one that
Searing Storm or
like
something like
it
that.
like searing sands or something. It can burn you.
This is better,
Like
but like even I think outside of Landorus, I don't think any of them actually use their signature move. They would still rather use like Thunderbolt or Hurricane.
Thunderbolt or Hurricane or Air Slash or
Yeah,
so it's a strange decision to include these moves in their move sets.
yeah. But aside from that, we have. I feel like the Tatsugiri for his Terra captains. We have Tatsugiri and Moltres. Moltres is really good. I like that Terra captain pick because it's already really great defensively, and you can just add a Terra on it, make it even more bulky, and all of a sudden like it's just deceptively good with Will-O-Wisp and you know
Yeah.
like type coverage. The Tatsugiri though, I feel like.
Well, I feel like it should be mentioned. So like Moltres, I mean, if you do Terra Fire, you're less weak to Stealth Rock in general.
Mhm.
I feel like that's probably Terra Fire is probably ideal unless you want to try something defensive. But that makes it gives you really strong Fire Blasts. But you can't discount Tatsugiri. Tatsugiri has nearly the same special attack as Moltres. Moltres is a little stronger, but Tatsugiri can just do Terra Dragon Draco Meteors and completely obliterate you in one move.
That's
Like
true, unless you're a fairy type
it,
or
it
steel type.
unless you're a fairy type or a steel type. But even then, even a steel type wouldn't love to get hit by that.
That's true. I think it would still
Uh,
do about like 50% just based on its special attack alone.
yeah. So Tatsugiri, I don't think he's gonna be taking it to every game, but just the threat, even without Terra, just the threat of its of the power that Pokemon has can be pretty scary.
I just love how
Tatsugiri also it never comes up. Tatsugiri has Storm Drain, which you don't
true.
really think about it, but he has a water immunity on his team, and things like Ting Lu, which are weak to water type, uh, probably wouldn't mind having something that's just straight up immune as a something to switch in.
Right. I was just gonna say I just find it so funny how every team, maybe not every team, but most teams they have like one or two really strong dragon types to like take advantage of, and then Josh is over here with the freaking Tatsugiri. Oh, don't be afraid of
Yeah,
that Draco Meteor. Ooh.
yeah. I mean, Iron Jugulus, I'll say is like an honorary dragon type,
It
but
it doesn't even get
it,
Draco
it
because
doesn't
it's
it
not a
doesn't get
dragon.
but
It doesn't get Draco
it
Meteor.
doesn't get Draco.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. His strongest dragon type is a little orange fish. I
Yeah.
think
And in terms of
what
Rapid
is it?
Spinner, he's got Quaquaval right there, which I just think is better, just in general. Better Water type, better Rapid Spinner. Has Moxie to enable like Moxie sweeps. Quaquaval shouldn't be slept on as well. I feel like.
No, on that same page,
Mhm,
Meowscarada is also a top OU Pokemon right now.
yeah.
Uh, he does have two dark types right now with Jugulus and Meowscarada, but Meowscarada can change its type, so that doesn't even matter.
Yeah, with protein.
Um, if yeah, so it has incredible coverage, the ability to adapt to any situation it needs to. It has a signature move that can always crit and doesn't check accuracy. Uh,
And it can just, it's a
uh,
fast pivot Pokemon too. Just fast
and it's
U-turner.
and it's really fast. But it also has knockoff.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Spikes, toxic spikes.
knockoff just like toxic and defog. Knockoff used to be a move that you'd see on every single Pokemon,
Yep.
but now knockoff is hardly ever hardly ever seen. Very few things get access to knockoff, and yeah, Meowscarada has so many options it can take advantage of.
Yeah, crazy. I think in general, I think Josh's team is a really big step up from his last team, which was kind of like electric terrain, but without electric terrain setup. Yeah, this one is really good balance. I'm really
Yeah,
proud. Like, oh my god,
you're
this team just
proud,
looks so good.
like like a father.
uh,
Um,
all right. Anything else you want to say about Josh here?
I I don't believe so. I think he's got a really solid team. We just have to see how he's going to take advantage of it. He has a very defensive team, I'm noticing. Uh, Ting Lu and Enamorus and Slowking are all super bulky, while Jugulus, Meowscarada, and Cleavor are very frail. So we'll have to see how he plays around switches.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It does. It does. It is
uh,
nice to know that he has really great U-turners. He's got. I think Jugulus gets U-turn. You got Chili
Enamorus gets
Reception.
U-turn,
Yep, and now Enamorus has one as well. Even
and
Quaquaval has U-turn.
Cleavor gets U-turn. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a lot
he
of
has a lot
great
of.
pivots, and he's
So
able to like get those. Go ahead.
for you folks at home, that means you got to run Rocky Helmet. So when he switches out on you, he takes chip damage.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm running Rocky Helmet on every single Pokemon now.
Running, guys, hear me out. Rocky Helmet. It's gonna be the meta this season.
All right, and now next up is me. The Green Bay
Yay!
Pachirisus. Do you want to have? I can. I guess I could start with my
Now
team.
here, well, I can start off by saying, uh, Michael recently made a couple trades on his team to diversify his roster a little bit. Originally, he had way more. He had a couple more ice types, and a very glaring rock weakness, which he still has,
I had like
but
6 Pokemon weak to Rock.
to a lesser extent. I think we had a spreadsheet that showed us what like every single person's type matchup
No way.
super effective
I think I had 8
spread was.
Pokemon.
He had 8 Pokemon that were weak to rock type, or at least 2 times weak to rock type. Everything he had was vulnerable. Um, so I like to see that he's switched some things around. Um, in particular, what I'm seeing here is just like with Josh, Michael chose to take Slowking within his first 2 rounds,
Mm-hmm.
which is that is a huge pick, especially if you look at his team. He has the strongest physical attacking. Yeah, I think tied for the
Yes,
strongest
tied.
physical attacking Pokemon in our league. He has a Slush Rush to Titan. There's even Frostmoth down there with a Quiver Dance. Budget Volcarona is what I like to call it. Um,
Volcarona at home.
but he's got unlike Josh, he has some things that can take advantage of snow, and even being able to set up snow in general lets you shut down other weather strategies. So I think Slowking here is a wonderful choice.
If let it be known here first, if he didn't take, if Josh didn't take Galarian Slowking round one, and I know Eric wouldn't have taken it round one, or anybody else taken it, I
I,
would have, I would have picked it up. But I had to make do with what I had, and I needed that chilly reception because I just felt it was such a good pivot for like a snow team, especially if I'm going with Baxcalibur and Titan. I'm like, yeah, I need this chilly reception, go right out into Titan, get that belly drum off, and then just go to town. Or I can
Yeah,
Ice Body
you just
with.
have to hope that the Titan doesn't get KO'd on that turn.
That's true.
I I am noticing you don't have any prominent Blizzard users. Blizzard, I feel like, is a very useful strategy to take advantage of with snow.
Well,
I think Frostmoth can yeah, Frostmoth can use Blizzard, but uh, it is also a very weak Pokemon outside of Snow and Quiver Dance.
hey man, listen here.
And
I could run a special
you could run
Baxcalibur.
special you could run special Excalibur 100%.
100% Draco
Um,
Meteor with Blizzard. Thing is, I don't really
um,
need
but
Blizzard.
you don't need it. You don't need it because you have such a high attack stat. You can just what does Excalibur do? Does it use a icicle spear? Does it have a
So it has Icicle Spear, which hits 2 to 5 times. I could run a loaded dice set. I could do Lumberry Dragon Dance, or I could just
I
go for a
think
Choice Band and just click Icicle Crash, which has a 30% chance to flinch.
well, no, listen here, mister. I think a strategy that you might not have considered initially. Excalibur, as you are aware, is relatively slow. It's not the it can be fast, but 87 speed is not anything to gloat about. You open up the potential for Avalanche to be a very scary move.
Hmm.
Uh, that doubles power if you take damage first. A 120 base power physical ice move. That could be a crazy strategy that Excalibur could pull out.
You're right.
Uh,
Avalanche could definitely be really good.
especially against a team that's fast like Ben's. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't have to worry about speed.
You just click Icicle
I
or Avalanche and get that really strong Ice Stab. I think that's. I mean, the only thing is I have to move second, so it's not as reliable for sweeps. But it can
no.
take a couple Pokemon out.
I want to ask you what your justification is behind taking two unaware Pokemon.
Okay, so at first um I didn't draft Clodsire third. I actually drafted Tornadus because I thought Prankster with Snowscape would be really funny. Um and also it gets Prankster Tailwind, Prankster Taunt. I just thought I wanted to use a Prankstermon because I just thought it was an interesting strategy. But I decided to pick up Clodsire instead, which is in the same point tier, because it is really good as either an Unaware Mon and Water Absorb. I can use either of those two abilities depending on the matchup. Like Clodsire just straight up walls Walking Wake, which somebody drafted, and it is really strong against like just trying to think of like it's just a really great bulky special wall in general. I definitely don't need to bring Unaware every single match, which is why it's great to have Skeledirge there because I will basically be running Unaware. I love using it as just like it's just like as a massive presence to just bring in.
Skeletor is just an immovable wall.
Yeah. And it gets like Encore and Hex, Will-O-Wisp. It gets some cool, fun toys to play
Well, and
with.
yeah, what does Torch Song boosts your own stats, right?
Torch Song boosts special attack every time I use it. Kind of like Aqua Step, where it boosts your speed every time. Torch Song. So like I can be both a wall and a wall breaker. You know?
Yeah, and that's a very powerful role. Um, I mean, right now just thinking in my head. Uh, Usually something like a Goodra. Goodra has a really high special defense and it resists fire type. So you could send in a Goodra against Skeledirge in hopes to wall it, but eventually Torch Song is going to get strong enough that Goodra can't sit there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not to mention that you have any other you could use Roar if you have any way to set up like hazards. You could use Roar. You have Slack Off for
For healing.
fast healing.
I can use
On
Encore.
Will-O-Wisp. Yeah,
That can be used.
Skeledirge has tons of options. I was a little jealous. I think Skeledirge is my favorite of the new starters, and I think it's got a lot of cool options it can take advantage of.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I wanted that one too, but
It's my favorite in terms of design. Like all of the other ones were
yeah,
like fast attackers.
I don't like the fast anthropomorphic furry starters. I'm not a big fan of those.
Yeah, I like how this guy's
And
on all fours.
Skeledirge is just a monster, and that's what I like.
He's got more utility. Yeah, I like that more. And to bring attention, I got some really. I feel like I have some sleeper picks down there on the bottom row. You know, Noivern, Fortress, Bisharp, Hariyama, and Frosmoth. I think all through all like the first, I'd say 3 to 4 have really great synergies with my team, especially like Bisharp there. Yeah, it's not King
Yeah,
Gambit.
yeah. But Bisharp gives you two types that you don't already have, ignoring Fortress. But
Hmm.
like Dark and Steel coverage is huge. It can run Eviolite now, so
Yes.
it could be a bulky Pokemon. Swords Dance on Bisharp. You could do Swords Dance and Sucker Punch. Again, it's not as strong as King Gambit. It's not as bulky as King Gambit without Eviolite, but it can do all of these same things just to a slightly lesser extent, and it was a really cheap Pokemon to draft.
Yeah. Like it's still Bisharp at the end of the day. Like it was running OU for the past 3 generations. Like Gen 5, Gen 6, Gen 7.
It's always had some kind of niche. Also, Noivern is another one of the fastest Pokemon in this league, and you
Hmm.
have Infiltrator Boomburst.
Yep. You can't escape from that. Or I can run
You
Frisk.
know,
Frisk is
one
really good in
thing
draft, I
I'm
think.
one thing I'm interested to ask you about.
What's up?
So I see you chose to pick Hariyama and Frostmoth as your Terra captain.
Hmm.
Now Frostmoth I think makes sense because it's a potential win condition. It is budget Volcarona. It's very frail, very weak to Rock type. But if you get a couple Quiver Dances off, maybe get an Aurora Veil up, it can be a very threatening Pokemon. And Hariyama, I mean, I think I've joked about this to you, but Hariyama's Terra Normal Fake Out is one of the it is the strongest fake out in the game. Yeah, it's the strongest fake out in our draft league right now, which is fun to think about. But Noivern is a 9 point Pokemon. It could
Hmm.
have been a Terra Captain, and Terra Normal Boomburst on such a fast Pokemon. I feel like almost would have been a no brainer.
You know, I was thinking about that as well. Like while I was in the drafting moment, I was like, Terra Normal Boomburst sounds pretty nice. But when it came down to it, I valued utility more than
More than
more than like straight up
comeback
offense.
potential.
Plus,
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of my I have 2 really great sweepers in Baxcalibur and Titan with the snow. Even like Frosmoth as well as another win condition. I felt like Hariyama would benefit
Even
more.
Greninja's really fast,
Yeah,
and
with the Battle Bond ability
uh,
too.
yeah.
It can be great as a
Uh,
late game, like an end game win condition. But I felt like Hariyama with its thick fat gives it some interesting. Shut up! It gives it some really
Hey man, all
interesting
right, it's
defense.
not his fault. He's big boned.
He's big bone. Honestly, I felt like it gives me a resistance to rock. Since I had a lot of ice types, I have a fire switch in that's not Skeledirge or Slowbro. And with Assault Vest, it can be deceptively bulky with its high HP stat.
It can be extremely bulky, yeah. And having things that can switch in on fire hits, that lets you take advantage of Fortress. I mean, I don't think Fortress will be in every game,
Mm-mm.
but it serves a lot of utility as just a very defensive steel type that has rapid spin,
Right.
and can set up its own hazards. Fortress is one of those things where a Fortress will not win you the game, but when you're fighting a Fortress, you want nothing more than to get rid of it as fast as possible.
Otherwise, it just sits there and it snowballs.
It just sits there and it keeps setting up toxic spikes and stealth rock and keeps spinning away your own hazards. And I just hate staring into those beady eyes.
Oh, I love him.
So I do love Fortress. I'm a bug type. Bug type is probably my favorite type. So, well, it used to be. I might have changed. I love so many Pokemon. It's
it,
hard to choose.
yeah, you have a lot of favorites, I will say. You had
favorites.
a lot of favorites, but yeah, I feel like I have a lot of interesting synergies between Pokemon, like Bisharp, four times weak to fighting, Skeletor's immune. Um, all of them are weak to, or both of them are weak to ground. Oh, but I got a little Noivern over there, immune. Uh, Fortress, four times weak to fire. Bisharp, four times weak to fire. A lot of, or not four times, but weak to fire. A lot of Pokemon weak to fire, but I got
Yeah,
Skeletor, Slowking, and Hariyama there. Yeah, I just think I have a lot of interesting defensive cores and
yeah. It's
offensive
hard to
sweepers.
it's gonna be hard to crack down on your team offensively for like you can't just pick like only ground type moves and it's just gonna beat you.
Exactly.
You've got a lot of things to cover each other.
All right, so we can,
Why don't we let's move on. Let's move on.
yeah, it's been a while. So we'll go to Jake now. He was tied for fourth last season, and this scene, oh my
Jake,
god,
he got fourth place, but for
he
people
was
who weren't
running the league.
maybe haven't been keeping up with it. Season 1, Jake was the dominating force for our initial round robin bracket before we went into the finals. He dropped what? 2 games right at the end.
Yeah, he
Uh,
dropped against William
but he
twice.
won. But he won every single game he played that league until the very end.
Yeah,
So
and
it says he tied for fourth, but I think it should be mentioned that he is still an incredibly good player who I want to say probably just got a little unfortunate at the end and was dominating at the beginning.
he
So
was unstoppable. I got close, but he still overcame and
we
was
got
just.
close, and
What do you feel about his
but
first four Pokemon?
I think Landorus is a wonderful first round pick,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to follow up quick. I can't believe Urshifu was not drafted until round 2. But Landorus, I think I've talked about this with you before, but it fulfills a very unique role on a team because it's got ground and flying coverage.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you an electric immunity and it gives you a ground immunity all in one Pokemon. And it has Prankster, so it can be a utility Pokemon that
Uh,
can do all sorts of
I don't think it
it
actually
can.
gets Prankster. I might be wrong.
Oh no, it gets. Sorry, no,
It
this
gets
one
Sheer
gets Sheer
Force.
Force. You're right. Well, actually, yeah, actually that's even better because it has so much power behind it, but it still has a lot of defensive utility. For he has Heatran here. Heatran is 4 times weak to ground, but he can swap Landers in, and
Exactly.
Landers also has U-turn to pivot around and avoid getting better matchups. And he's not the fastest thing, but Landers is still pretty fast.
I think
So I,
those two Pokemon, Landorus and Heatran, everything that Landorus is weak to, Heatran resists. Everything Heatran is weak to, Landorus resists or is immune.
there's wonderful synergy between those two. And speaking of between those two, we've got Urshifu. Now in this league, we did not have access to Rapid Strike. We only had Single Strike.
Mm-hmm.
Rapid Strike is just a little too good for us. But Single Strike is still going to be a terrifying threat that Jake has access to. Urshifu is, anyone who forgot, Urshifu is a legendary Pokemon. Um,
The man drafted three
it
legendary Pokemon.
He drafted his first 3 picks were all legendary, and it only took him another 2 rounds to pick another one.
Yeah.
Uh, so Urshifu though, so 130 attack, it's got 100s in its HP and defense, and it's 97 base speed. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not the fastest, but it's still pretty fast. But I think what is most interesting about this is a singles format. Protect is not common. Unseen Fist probably won't be too relevant in most games.
Probably not.
But what is it? Wicked Blow, a guaranteed critical hit move that's also stab
Mm-hmm.
and 100% accurate. I think that's going to be very relevant. Sucker Punch and Wicked Blow, just those two alone would make Urshifu crazy for this league. But he still has access to like Swords Dance, Taunt. Urshifu gets U-turn. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
No, Urshifu can U-turn. And if he really wants, he's got Drain Punch, Close Combat, all of these crazy options to I think Urshifu, we all kind of slept on it that first round, and then we realized the mistake we made,
Oh
letting it
no.
make it to round two.
I think the only thing that balances that out is that its typing makes it 4 times weak to fairy, and its speed
It has
is lower than 100, so it can be kind of overtaken by something else that's faster unless it's running like Choice Scarf. But even then,
it
like it's still got
has a
so
lot of
many
common
points in its favor, right?
yeah, it has a lot of common weaknesses. It is weak to the fighting type and the flying type, and it's quad weak to fairy. Um, it should be mentioned, it is immune to the psychic type, which usually is something that can take down a fighting type.
True.
So it has that going for it, but it has a lot of common weaknesses. It's it's relatively bulky physically. I mean, 100 HP and 100 defense aren't the best, but they're good enough. But 60 special defense is pretty pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't help that a lot of its weaknesses are special attacks, especially the fairy type.
Yeah, but then, even then, you can just go right out into Heatran. You know, Heatran
It's
is
a Heatran.
4 times weak.
Heatran is
Or 4 times resistant.
virtually
It's
immune, virtually immune to the fairy type. Yeah.
such a strong 4 or 3 Pokemon that work together very well. I can see him bringing those 3 every single game.
Yeah, he almost doesn't need to bring the rest of his team. But let's talk about the rest of his team.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the those calculations you ran on Azumarill?
So Azumarill, I did the calculations. Without an adamant nature, just 252 in its EVs, it reaches one with huge power. It reaches 398, and a max attack adamant nature Urshifu only hits 394. So this thing, even without max attack investment, hits harder than a freaking Urshifu, which we said had base 130 attack. Huge power is stupid.
And mind you, Azumarill also has Aqua Jet. So even if it's slow, it's not the slowest thing, but it's still pretty slow.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter because for a mid game wall breaker to a late game cleanup Pokemon that can sweep through you with a Azumarill gets Belly Drum, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you know that it gets Belly Drum as well? So if you didn't think that was high enough, you can just go Belly Drum.
Max it, and the thing is with something like huge power is it doubles your attack after the boost. That is the final thing in the calculation. So you take your maxed out attack stat, then you add in a 4 times multiplier for Belly Drum,
and then you multiply by 2 again.
Then you double that number, and then you have a stab priority move. On a water fairy type, both of which Jake doesn't already have coverage for, so it gives him added coverage, more utility, and a crazy strong. I don't want to call it a sweeper, because Azumarill could do all sorts of things. It could even run a special set, or a special or a physical set with Sapsipper.
Sapsipper is
Thick Fat
with its grass immunity, so I can see it coming in clutch, like maybe one round. But I think the preferred ability is huge power for sure.
It's gonna be huge power every time. I mean, he has nothing that's. If he had something like I'll say like Swampert or Quagsire that's 4 times weak to grass, then maybe Sapsipper could come in handy. But
yeah, I think with his team being very not grass weak, yeah, I feel like Sapsipper is just not really good on Azumarill going in, but it could catch somebody off guard, which is the whole point of draft, you know.
That's the whole point.
Just speeding through these last few ones here. Mew is very great. It's got really good coverage.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Mew has access to. It's only beat by Smeargle in terms of diversity of moves it can learn.
Yeah, for sure. I think
I think notably, Mew gets access to both Swords Dance and Nasty Plot, and Dragon Dance.
And Dragon Dance. Imagine if you brought all 3.
It doesn't get Quiver Dance, thank God. But Mew can Mew is so diverse with how it can choose its route to kill you, or just play a pure utility role. But it
Because it's
has
got
all of these.
100 in all stats, it's not bad in anything, and you can customize it to whatever you want. It's like one of the perfect,
Absolutely.
yeah, like draft Pokemon.
Like I know season one, Kyle he had Ditto, and that led to
Yeah.
a lot of trouble with trying to draft like team build around him because you never knew what to expect from Ditto. Was he even going to bring it? That was like the big problem.
Mm-hmm.
Was you didn't know what to expect, or if he was even going to bring it. Mew is the same way. He doesn't have to bring it. If you look at these other picks, he has a Lucario, a Rotom-Mow. He has a Hisuian Zoroark. Hisuian Zoroark was the devil of our last league.
Alex
Um,
got a lot of mileage out of that.
exactly. He doesn't even need to bring Mew, but the threat of having something that he could bring that could do virtually anything. Mew can get close combat. Like so you can never switch something in on Mew safely and just assume you'll be fine.
Without a doubt.
Not to
Mew is,
mention Mew also gets U-turn and Volt Switch. So this is just two more pivot moves that he can throw out there.
yeah, to his other, bring out to his Lucario, which is one of his Terra
Yeah,
captains. Very strong Terra
Rotom-Mow has
captain.
Volt Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Mew has Volt Switch.
Pikachu.
U-turn. Landorus has U-turn. Pikachu, I don't know if he's gonna bring Pikachu, but
It could happen
uh,
though. It could happen with Light Ball.
it
It's
could
like the
happen.
same conversation. Just copy and paste it onto Pikachu.
Yeah. Lucario is an interesting Terra captain. I'm not a huge Lucario fan, but I can totally see that being
Like because the thing is, he already has Urshifu. So in terms of like strong fighting type, I feel like
yeah,
he's overtaken.
like that. That's already covered, and Heatran is the strongest Steel type. Now Heatran doesn't really use Steel type attacks,
Mm-hmm.
but neither does Lucario. I mean, Meteor Mash.
It gets Steel Beam, and it has a
It
good
gets
special
Steel
attack.
Beam.
So could take
Yeah,
advantage of that. I think
that
outside
it has a
of
lot of. Lucario has a lot of moves. I'll give it that much. It has a
Mhm.
lot of things it can pull from, but it is also very frail.
Yeah.
And 90 speed is not great. The only thing I could see Terra Lucario being especially useful for is Terra Normal Extreme Speed.
I was just about to say that. I'm like, you were
It's
gonna
the
say,
only thing in our league that can do that. Both of the Arcanines were above the 9-point range, uh, and so was Dragonite.
hmm
Unless you wanted to bring out, I don't know, Terra Normal Dragonair. Lucario, yeah, uh, which honestly probably would be a terrible choice, but
it'd be so bad.
but
Or
yeah,
Terra
Lucario.
Normal Fake Out. It's the same
There
thing.
you go. There you go. That is the one thing that Lucario can do that I'd say puts it above, puts it above the crowd
Yeah.
for utility as a Terra Pokemon. Do you want to talk about what Oricorio can do
So
with Terra?
so with Terra and Oricorio, its signature move Revelation Dance is it? It changes its type based on what type the primary type of the Pokemon. So basically, it's a stronger Terra Blast, pretty much. If you can Terra on Oricorio, it changes the Revelation Dance changes its type to whatever its Terra move is. Revelation is base 90, Terra Blast is base 80. So essentially, it is just um, a stronger Terra Blast that can also be whatever type the Oricorio is first prior to Terraing.
Do you wanna mention to our viewers at home? So we talked just a little bit about like the rules we have
Yeah,
against
I was
season.
just about to bring that up.
Can he use any Oricorio form?
Yes, he can bring any Oricorio. We put all the Oricorio forms into one, which just makes it such an incredible value pick because it's 4 Pokemon in one. He can't bring everyone to his team because of Smogon species clause, but he can bring, the Ghost one, to like 1 week, and then the fire one to another week, and then the electric one to another week, or the fairy one another. It's just got so many. He's just got so many options to choose from. The Oricorio is such like
Oricorio is a very interesting pick, and I love that
yeah.
in this league it is given such a unique role. And furthermore, I'm going to use the fire one as an example here. Uh, a big problem we had in season one, not a problem, but there were a lot of times where entire games would be decided because one player would pick Quiver Dance or Dragon Dance
Mm-hmm.
and spiral out of control. But Oricorio has the ability Dancer. So let's say someone's using Volcarona and they think they're safe enough to use a Quiver Dance. You can swap an Oricorio, copy their Quiver Dance, and you're also resisting their stab moves because you're a fire flying type. Oricorio, in a weird way, is like I know he's got Heatran here, which is probably a better choice, but Oricorio could almost reverse sweep something like a Volcarona.
You know, that makes me wonder if Mirror Herb works with Dancer.
Oh, maybe that would be cool.
That would be cool. So he can use Quiver Dance. You can copy it twice, so then he would outspeed the Volcarona, and then just kill it with Terra Water or something.
And and you have to mention too, Dancer doesn't just work for Quiver Dance. It works for
It works
Sword
for every
any move that has Dance in it. So you always have to be cautious about just throwing those out when an Oricorio is around.
Rain Dance. Okay.
Rain Dance.
It is a dance.
And Hisuian Zoroark here, with its ability to, disguise itself and its very unique typing, like we said before, it was the bane of Season 1, and Alex got so much mileage off of it. So the fact that it was drafted so late on, it was really funny to me.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
round
curious to
what,
see
like 8? It's crazy.
Yeah, so, I mean, these top 6 Pokemon that Jake picked up on top of the screen could all possibly be that could be his team on any given game, but you always have to be ready for Zoroark to show up, blow your mind because you don't know what disguise it has, and then sweep your whole team because it's fast and it has nasty plot.
Exactly. And even Oricorio too could be a sleeper late game sweeper.
I mean, Oricorio also gets Quiver Dance.
Yeah.
It just learned that. It can learn any dance move.
Crazy. All right, so that's Jake's team. I love Jake's team. I think it's contender for one of the strongest drafts
Contender
in the
for
league.
one of
All right, so now we got I think 4 more drafts left. So let's try to get things going here. Williams. Oh my God.
A lot of us are thinking this might be the scariest or one of the scariest teams this season.
It's just like
I don't know if maybe someone's just listening to the video or they're not watching. So I'm going to say this as clearly as I can. Corkole and Chi-Yu. All right.
there you go. That's it.
He's got Drought and the strongest special attacking Pokemon that's ever existed. That also happens to be a fire type.
And is also lowers their special defense on switching.
Yeah. There's also Iron Moth, which has Cork Drive and 140 special attack. You can't forget about that, and it's got poison and fire coverage too.
And he's got Walking Wake too, which also has Photosynthesis and Hydro Steam.
Yeah, which Photosynthesis makes it fast. You can make it faster or stronger in the sun, and it boosts its signature move to Hydro Pump levels of damage. Instead of
and it gets we have Roaring Moon just to go again. That's another.
This Roaring Moon also boosted by the sun, and because we haven't even talked about it yet, he has Dragapult.
Yeah, that goes to show we talked about all these ones, and then he also has Dragapult.
Yeah, he has all these things that on their own would make for a very solid team, and then he has I'd say probably the most useful fast Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like Regieleki is very limited on its coverage, and Electrode's not good. It's interesting, but it's not good. Dragapult is good.
I would say
it was
Dragapult
one
is
of
the
it was
best Pokemon in draft.
yeah, it was in our highest point value category, along with Urshifu and what was
Valiant.
it? Iron Valiant.
Hmm.
Um, so like of course, it was also not a round one pick. Crazy.
Oh my god, when they get to
I'm beginning to think that we're not very smart people. But
no,
then again,
definitely not.
he picked Chi-Yu round one, which I feel like is worth it.
Hmm.
Dragapult was icing on the cake. That was the you know Dragapult was the icing on the triple decker cake that is getting Chi-Yu.
Oh my god, yeah.
Why why is Chien Pao banned and Chi-Yu legal? I don't know.
Because
Um
Chi and Power is too good. It's got priority with Sucker Punch and Ice Shard, and it's like, I don't want to
yeah,
deal with
I
it.
feel I don't think there's much we can really touch on Williams' team that isn't apparently already completely apparently obvious. Like I'd say the one weakness his team has, it is very one dimensional.
Hmm.
Chi is always going to be using like overheat or fire blast or flamethrower. Torkoal is just going to be setting up the sun and hoping it can get off maybe a rapid spin or something. Um, Walking Wake is just going to be using Draco Meteor or what is it, Steam something,
Steamer, or no, Hydro Steam.
Hydro Steam. Dragapult could do a lot of interesting things. I think that one's fine. And Iron Moth is just going to be doing the same. It's going to be flamethrowers and Cork Drive boost.
Fiery
Like there
Dances,
are
Quiver Dance.
fiery dances. Like it, I don't think it gets Quiver Dance.
Oh, really?
No,
That's probably why Volcarona is better. But
yeah, but
yeah.
like there are things he can do to mix up his team, but
Hmm.
the main threats are all very one-dimensional. The issue is that one dimension is so good that if you don't have something that's quad resistant to fire or immune to fire, like what is it? Heatran's got flash fire, so he's like Heatran doesn't have to be too worried about this. But if William can get rid of Heatran, get Heatran out of the picture, suddenly he could steamroll an entire team because nothing can withstand Chiyu's raw power
Nothing.
in the sun, no less. Uh, and that's not even to mention that he also has regular Zoroark. That's a Terra Captain if he wants to mess
If he so
around with
chooses.
if he so chooses. Or Orthworm doesn't have Shed Tail, so I don't know if it's going to see much use. But it is a ground immune Pokemon that heals from ground attacks. And if you're looking at this, William does have a pretty big ground weakness.
Hmm.
Iron Moth, Torkoal, Chi-Yu, tactically Orthworm, but it's got immunity. But he has nothing that's like no flying types or anything. So if I brought Earthquake to my team, I should have no fear of just throwing that out and hitting everything neutrally. He has
Right.
nothing that resists it.
The
So
Orthworm there is
Orthworm
really good for that ground immunity.
it, it gives him a ground immunity. Uh, Mimikyu, Terra Mimikyu is also pretty exciting.
Yeah, Alex got a lot of mileage out of that one too. Um, I was
And
really surprised with the red card tech. That one.
yeah, red card. Or you could even do eject button and swords dance or something and make them switch out.
Yeah, that could be something too.
Make yourself switch out. Red card switches them out, or eject button would switch yourself out. So you could you'd have to be fast.
Yeah,
And
but I mean, it gets Shadow Sneak, so it does have like priority there. But yeah, he's got a lot of interesting moves, a lot of interesting. I mean, all one dimensional, but that one dimension is incredibly strong.
so yeah, I guess the moral of the story is his team is there's nothing that's going to catch you off guard other than the damage that you will be
It's
taking.
gonna it's gonna put holes. Chiyu is Ubers for a reason, and it is just
He
gonna come in and click a button and it's
like
just gonna do
just
a million damage.
throwing this out there, the modern day Blissey is Clodsire, and it's famous for unaware and not and shrugging off boosted attacks. But Chiyu doesn't need to boost its attacks. All of the stat boosts are like I'll say like external stat boosts from like Sun and Stab and its ability. None of them are from boosting attacks.
Yeah,
So
if it wants to, it can run
what?
Nasty Plot, but or it can just
If it
run
wants
Choice Specs.
or even yeah, and choice specs. Those are all things that Clodsires and Unaware can't ignore.
Hmm.
And suddenly, a super bulky special defense wall is still, I think, gonna get what, two hit KO'd by
Two shot, yeah.
if Chiyu can't one shot you, it'll only take one more turn. That's the moral of the story.
Exactly. And with that, Williams' strong ass team will go straight into the next one. Your team.
My team.
So it
Uh,
is funny how
yeah, I'll let you talk about it. I'll let you talk about it.
you had four Pokemon that you you had it here before, but you recently changed it. It used to be what, like Murkrow, Crocolore,
Yeah,
Bramblegast,
when we
Braixen.
did the draft, I had a bunch of extra points left over, and I
My man
just
did not know what to do.
I assumed we just had to finish off the draft and pick something for every slot. Um, and we are allowed to trade things. So my last four Pokemon were just like 1 point, 2 point Pokemon that I was never going to use. So recently I exchanged all of those for Hatterene, which gives me kind of skipping ahead here, but I didn't have a Psychic or a Fairy type, and it gives me a very strong special attacker too
Yeah.
that has a lot of utility moves. So I think it is well worth it to exchange four things I will never use for a Terra Captain that has a lot of utility.
For sure. And it was just funny because like you would have all these strong Pokemon: Garchomp, Volcanion, King Gambit, Tornadus Therian. All these at one point, Tornadus Therian kind of fell off, but all of these like OU Pokemon, and then just like a freaking daycare in the back. It was.
I didn't really consider this at the time, but one advantage to having a bunch of various weak Pokemon was, as we mentioned before, we had a spreadsheet that showed your team's weaknesses and resistances as like a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So like Michael had a like 8 times weakness to rock initially. Because I had all of these weak Pokemon that also had a shared weakness of rock type, it made my team look very like
Underwhelming.
very very a lot. I had a lot of shared like rock and ground weaknesses and stuff, and it made my team look very weak and uh as if like something like the rock type or the ground type were like liabilities. But when you look at my team, I've got what, three things that are immune to the ground type. uh I've only got what, three things. I have three things that are weak to the
To
rock
rock.
type,
Yeah.
but like
And I mean,
Garchomp.
outside of Pelipper,
Garchomp's
you're running heavy
rock
duty
type.
boots on Volcanion and Tornadus.
Yeah, and but that's the thing too, is I don't even have to run heavy duty boots if I don't want to.
Exactly.
Uh, I could prioritize anything else, and I'm not rock weak. King Gambit beats rock. Well, it's not like rock and ground types, but like King Gambit is strong against rock types. Garchomp strong against rock types. Rotom strong against rock types. Volcanion strong against rock types. Pelipper's got stab against rock types. Even Sandy Shocks down there has stab moves against rock types.
Mm-hmm. Even
I'm
Hisuian
not.
Goodra, which also is a sleeper pick. Not a
Yeah,
lot of people had Hisuian Goodra on, but Dragon Steel is a great typing, and
Dragon Steel is wonderful typing. It gives me so much defensive utility.
mhm, it's just
Alongside
good.
Gudra just having Gudra, I think has what, 150 base special defense, and it has 100 attack, 100 defense, 110 special attack, 150 special defense, and 80 HP. It's a little bit slow, but it can just sit on things and not and take, you know, negligible damage. And it
With
also has
yeah,
extremely diverse move pool, and it has Sap Sipper for a ground immunity or grass immunity, or Shell Armor if I'm scared of critical hits. If I'm going against
me.
Urshifu, I was gonna say if I'm going against Mike, yeah, Michael's killed me with crits before, but if I'm going against like Urshifu, I could choose to bring Shell Armor and just shrug off Wicked Blow.
Yeah, or like yeah, Masquerada as well with Flower Trick. Quad resist that, and you can't even get a crit on that.
Oh yeah, quad resist, or just straight up immunity to it.
Oh yeah, with Sap Sipper too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy. Hisuian Gudra is such a good Pokemon. I feel like your team has such like a diverse is like I think yeah, without a doubt has like the most amount of just like strong Pokemon. I look at this team, I'm like, this team just looks like OU.
yeah. Well, and like let's look at, for example, in my immunities. I have Tornadus, immune to the ground type. King Gambit, immune to the psychic type and the poison type. Garchomp, immune to the electric type. Rotom, immune to the ground type. Volcanion, immune to the water type. Pelipper, immune to the ground type. Sandy Shocks is immune to the electric type. Goodra is immune to the poison type and the grass type. Hatterene is the only thing that doesn't have an immunity, and is a recent addition. Everything on my team has some kind of immunity.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it. That's crazy.
Exactly.
He's got so many immunities going in for him. I think that's like, that's got to be at least like 6 to 7 unique immunities.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Uh, so and that's something that like alongside having like Volcanion's very bulky, King Gambit can be very physically bulky. Tornadus's whole gimmick is that it can be like a mixed attacker or invest only in special attack, or it can be a straight up utility support Pokemon with Regenerator. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. Garchomp can be it could be a late game sweeper, a wall breaker, or it could be a lead Pokemon with a like Dragon Tail and Stealth Rock. I've seen plenty of people do that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
the primary use of it in Gen 9 OU.
yeah, Gudra's a wall. Like I have all of these. Even Hattery is very bulky. Like I have so many things that can be dangerous offensive threats, but I have also so many options for defensive coverage.
I think yeah, they have a great mix of bulk and offense. Like bulky offense is what I would describe this draft as.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of going for. Is bulky offense is my go-to strategy. I don't like investing in very frail like sweepers
Mm-hmm.
that just want like if I can just get my sword dance off, I win. No, I want something that is reliable in every situation and isn't afraid to take a hit. When the frailest thing on my team is Pelipper, like and Pelipper serves such a unique role that I don't care if it's even that frail. I don't even have to use Pelipper. If I want to make this a rain team, I can. But if I don't want to make it a rain team, I don't have to.
You don't have to. You can work just fine with like Tornadus Therian, King Gambit, Garchomp, Rotom Wash, Volcanion, and then like your choice, whether it's Sandy Shocks, Gudra, or Hatterene. That's already a solid team. You know what? I was saying like I think I want like a team where like I wanted where you can have like choices and like you're not bringing the same five. I can see you bringing like the same five Pokemon because they're just so good.
I could. I might even because
Yeah,
I
I
tend to be
mean,
pretty busy. Uh, but like something we've kind of brought up with other teams is the accessibility to pivot options. Again, I've got U-turn with Tornadus, Volt Switch with Rotom, U-turn with Pelipper, Volt Switch with Sandy Shocks. Like I'm in no desperate need of any kind of pivoting ability either. I can
hmm
switch in and switch out as frequently as I like. And another thing that we talked about was I do actually have I'll say weakness to hazards.
yeah.
Mind you, uh, the only things on my team that really care about hazards are like stealth rock because everything else has flying or levitate.
hmm
And the things that are weak to stealth rock, I could just run heavy duty boots and ignore it. But that is another reason why drafting Hatterene or trading for Hatterene was valuable. Because even if I don't really care too much about hazards going up on my side of the field, if I want, I could just bounce them back.
You know,
So, Michael, I want to ask you something.
that's a
So when we were looking at like Williams' team, what we said was, all right, well, there's a very clear cut strategy here of getting like Sunny Day up and going for Chiyu, but there's a couple other like win conditions. Look at my team. I want you to try to tell me, what is like the first win condition that you see?
well. In terms of what I see is rain. obviously with rain is good with Tornado Hysteria and Rotom Wash, even Sandy Shocks you can do that. Rain also lowers the attack of fire types, so or fire type moves, so King Gambit is safer from that. Other than that, I mainly see you just running like I said, bulky offense, finding pivot points to take advantage of your stronger mons, going in with your plethora of immunities to take advantage of somebody caught off guard, and then just dishing back like insane damage. But there's not really like one centralized strategy where if we go back a slide with William, oh yeah, he's gonna set up Sun and just spam Fire Blast or Hydro Steam or Photosynthesis boosted Roaring Moon Outrage. Here,
Yeah.
it's not as clear cut, which is really
Yeah,
interesting.
and I wanted to bring up too is like I mentioned those immunities I have. And it's not like I just have immunities for the sake of having immunities. Like take Pelipper. Quad weak to electric type. Volcanion's weak to the electric type. Tornadus is weak to the electric type. Rotom is neutral to the electric type. But it's like I've got a bunch of things that probably don't want to get hit by an electric move. But then I have Sandy Shocks and Garchomp that just can ignore it. It's not like they're even like defensively ignoring it. They just are immune. Straight up. And it's things like that. Or like King Gambit and Sandy Shocks and Gudra are all weak to the ground type. And Volcanion. But
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 flying types and something with Levitate that can ignore that. Garchomp is quad weak to the ice type, but I have Volcanion that can switch in and I think quad resist
Quad
the ice
resist
type.
it.
Or even King Gambit resists the ice type. Or Hisuian Gudra doesn't resist the ice type, but it has so much special defense
It
that
might as well.
Blizzard and Ice Beam, it might as well. But yeah, it's like it's not just that I have immunities or defensive coverage, it's that everything covers everything else.
For sure. I mean, the one thing that I can see is freeze dry, because
Freeze dry is a liability.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
you still take neutral
well,
damage with Volcanion and
the thing
Hisuian
is,
Gudra.
that basically just means there's not a ton of things with freeze dry. Actually, wait. Okay, yeah.
Our next team
Excalibur-
does have
Well,
something.
I was gonna say Baxcalibur, Iron Bundle, and then like Articuno are the only things in this league that. So I guess that gives Josh a boost, and if you want to do that with
Choice
with your
specs.
Excalibur. But like, Gudra doesn't really care too much about
No, not at all.
ice type attacks, special ice type attacks. I guess I should
Mhm.
clarify. So it's like when my biggest liability is a single ice type attack. That's not even that strong. It's what 75 base power.
It's just 70. Yeah, it's a pretty good. You have a pretty good, like what is it called?
Core.
Yeah, main core. Your whole team is synergistic with each other, and I find that very.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantages I think I have here is, unlike some of these other teams, anything that I have drafted here could realistically show up on a team. It's not like I drafted, like, well, we didn't even talk about Cerulege on Callian's team.
Mm-hmm.
Jake probably isn't going to use Pikachu unless it's for fun. You know, most people have something that they're probably not going to ever bring, but everything I have has a lot of value.
Yeah, I can see you bringing every Pokemon at least once, and even more than that because they just have so much like value to them. If you want a strong special attacker, special attacking electric type, you got Rotom Wash or Sandy Shocks. I feel like we're talking in circles, but you get the viewers at home, they get what we mean.
But that's the idea, is everything is in a circle. That's kind of how I wanted to build my team around it.
Yeah.
Was everything covers everything else, and the things that they're covering can in a big loop.
Yeah, one of the strongest
I don't think
drafts in the league, I'd
my
say.
team, my team isn't perfect, but
Well,
it's
you know what? You
pretty
know whose
close.
draft is perfect
Hardly.
is
No,
Kyle's team. He just drafted so much firepower, like right off the
we
bat.
did not. We. This is why I think we're stupid. Because
Look at that!
we just let him take these. Why is Iron Valiant a fifth round pick? It
Why did
was
we let
it
him
was
draft
it was in
Volcarona
our
again?
Iron Valiant was in the highest point value range. Iron Bundle is in like the second highest point value range. Landorus Therian was in it was up there. Volcarona was up there. Uh, he has a Samurott that can set spikes well attacking with a 100% accurate move.
Mm-hmm.
Breloom is the least impressive thing he has in this main lineup, and it's Breloom.
It's
You
still
can
got
do
Spore. It's still got
you
Technician
can poison
Boost.
heal. You have Technician Boost. You have Poison Heal. It has so many things it can do, and it's the least impressive thing he has.
Of this main lineup.
Um,
Yeah.
the main lineup is utterly terrifying. You also, if your eyes wander down a little bit, he has access if he feels like it. Shell Smash Poltegeist, uh, Speed Boost, Espathra, which without Terra, I think we talked about this before.
Yep.
Like without Terra, Espathra is not as dominating. Because like it only has like two stab moves.
Yeah. It's got Dazzling Gleam and it's got Store Power.
Yeah, so still terrifying, but it's not an unbeatable like threat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like his main lineup is the only thing he's gonna ever take. Poltegeist with Focus Sash and Shell Smash can win games. As Spothra, you give it one turn too many, and it snowballs out of control.
Here's
Uh,
here's what you
Terra
got.
Terra Electrode is virtually just a weaker version of the banned Uber Regieleki. Like
Yeah.
you could Terra Ice and have what is it like
Bolt Beam
again
coverage.
Bolt Beam universal coverage. I Kricketune. If
Kricketune
Kyle
kind
ever
of a joke.
brings Kricketune, yeah, it's a joke. If he brings it to a game, I'd laugh. It would be funny. There is no world where he brings that over any of these other Pokemon.
Here's the thing. This is Kyle's team, all right? His team is going to be the first 5 Pokemon every single week, and then the last one is going to be switched out. Either Breloom, Poltegeist, Espathra. He can even run Sticky Web's Kricketune. Or Electrode, you know?
Did you just see the future?
Yeah, I came back from the future. I had a vision. I was like, oh my god, this is just what it's going to be. Yeah, he just drafted. The whole point of the point-based system was so then you can have multiple variations of your team. Whereas Kyle just like, nope, I'm just going to do the exact same thing
No, no,
season
no.
1.
Well, he ran out of points.
He ran out of points, yeah, because he drafted so many high point Pokemon.
Yeah, I think let's just do like a speed round here real quick.
Hmm.
Iron Bundle, as good as it is very one-dimensional. It's going to be using Freeze Dry, Ice Beam, and Hydro Pump on every single set.
Yep.
Freeze Dry and Hydro Pump coverage in Iron Bundle is also near universal. There's nothing that resists that combination.
Mm-mm. Not a single thing. Well, I mean, maybe something, but
And, well, even if there is, you can just flip turn out
yeah.
or just switch out. Speaking of flip turn, another genie that has access to U-turn. Landorus Therian has fallen off in terms of its OU dominance,
Yeah,
but
without
it
Toxic and
doesn't have.
Knockoff.
Yeah,
But it's still
but
Landorus at the end of the day. It's still bulky.
I would shoot me in the brain if I call Landorus Therian bad. Like,
What?
what? No, I'm not. I'm not calling it
Oh,
bad.
you're not saying it's bad. Okay.
If I call it bad, kill me.
Got it.
Because it is fast. It's got what? Does it have 140 base attack? It's really strong, right?
It's tied with Baxcalibur, 145.
Yeah, it is the hardest hitting thing, like unboosted physical attacker, in our league. It's got Earthquake. It's got Swords Dance. It has Intimidate.
It gets fly.
And also, it has fly, but also it is a ground flying type. Electric immunity and ground immunity
Uh-huh.
built into one Pokemon. That's it's neutral to Stealth Rock, immune to all other hazards.
Just a
It's a
great,
great.
great mon. Speaking of great
We
mons,
don't need to talk about Volcarona.
okay, moving on.
Everyone, everyone knows what Volcarona does. It can't Terra anymore, but
I think that's it then, because I mean, we talked about Hisuian Samurott set up spikes.
Samurot's a very interesting choice. I'm
I
surprised he
wanted to
took
pick it.
Valiant. I'm surprised he took it before Valiant.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I'd really want to talk about here is just that he values a dark water type that can set up hazards with well attacking more than arguably the most valuable Pokemon in the league or up there with it.
it is probably the second best after Dragon Ball. It's
After Dragon
I
Ball.
loved using Valiant. You can literally use it as a mixed attacker. You don't have to run full special, full physical. You can run mixed, and with like, you can run Moonblast, Close Combat, Thunderbolt, and like whatever other move you want, Psychic or Psyshock.
With Booster Energy on Valiant or Bundle, he can choose to either be the fastest thing in the game, or the hardest hitting thing in the game. And when you're trying to team build against him, you just have to guess.
Oh my god,
Like
going
you
against
have,
Kyle is gonna be such a nightmare.
if you have some kind of Choice Scarf strategy that can like outspeed Iron Bundle by 1 point, but he chooses to do Booster Energy with speed that game, too bad.
Yep, you're done.
Yeah.
He can boost her energy on freaking Delibird as well, and that's something.
I know I mentioned this before, but like my team, I any member is relatively interchangeable, but I only have one Terra captain. I don't think Terra is necessarily needed for my team. I think my team is good enough without Terra needing to be a crucial strategy. I don't think Kyle's going to use Terrestrialize ever.
Probably not. I don't think he might use Terra Ice
Terra Electrode
with
is
Electrode.
the only thing I could ever see him using if he feels like doing it for fun.
Otherwise,
And
I can see him doing those first 5 with either Poltegeist or Espathra.
Yeah, it probably is Spathra.
Oh my god. This is gonna be so toxic. And we have to put up with this for 9 weeks.
God.
I'm scared.
So yeah, let's just keep
go.
moving. I think.
Let's go. We've talked about Kyle enough. We've complained about him enough.
So this is the last team in our draft.
Honestly, I kind of like it.
I like Alex's team.
It's got some unorthodox picks, like looking down there in the bottom row, but I really like his first few Pokemon.
Yeah, like Annihilate. There's a reason. It's another one of those top point Pokemons in our in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
It cannot be understated how good Rage Fist is. That is a win condition on its own. It takes some time to set up, and it's not perfectly reliable, but after only a couple turns of taking damage, Annihilate could just sweep your whole team and win.
Like, we're talking about U-turn and Volt Switch. Well, if you bring it in an Annihilate, he could take the hit, boost up its Rage Fist, and then counterattack whatever comes in.
Yeah. Although Annihilate is a bit of a one-trick pony, it only really does Rage Fist. It can use other moves, but Rage Fist is what makes it good.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was something we talked about a while ago with Goldengo. But Goldengo is a meta-defining Pokemon that is not very good.
What makes you say that?
So, okay, Ghost and Steel, wonderful typing. Good as Gold ability, immune to all status moves, wonderful effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fast, not really. It has Nasty Plot and steel type move that lowers its own special attack.
Ah,
That's
make it
pretty
rain.
fun. Yeah, it has the pieces there, but the trouble with Goldengo is that other than just using Make It Rain, um, it doesn't do much defensively or offensively. It's
Yeah.
not the not su- it's not super bulky. So if you just have if you could use Earthquake, Chiyu could use Flamethrower. Um, sure, it's immune to the fighting type. Oh no. But that means it's and Steel makes it not immune to the dark type. But like it has some very common weaknesses. It's not the bulkiest thing ever. Um, and it's meta defining because of its ability, because you always have to consider if Goldengo could
Hmm.
block your status moves. But it's not good enough that I think personally it's going to be like that was something I found when we were doing our when Kyle had it last season. I always had to team build around Goldengo being a something he'd bring, but it was never a Pokemon that was uh like winning him the game.
Yeah, he barely brought it out. Thinking back on it.
So I don't get me wrong, I'd love to see what Alex can do with it, and it's not a bad Pokemon at all, but I don't think I don't think it's as dominating as probably like probably might you might initially think.
Yeah,
Considering how,
the dominating presence from season 1 was, I think, that Gardevoir there that
yeah, Gardevoir.
also Kyle had. Yeah, that
Yeah, although
Gardevoir
he
is
did have
just.
Terra. He did have Terror
Hmm.
type, but Gardevoir's access to Calm Mind, Stored Power, and a lot of good coverage moves, uh, along with just being able to do any other set it feels like, but particularly the Calm Mind and Stored Power sets. If
Gardevoir,
you get Gardevoir,
unironically, is an answer to Iron Valiant. Resists
yeah,
both of its stabs, and it can hit back with a stab Moonblast.
yeah. If you give Gardevoir any like wiggle room, it might just set up on you and sweep your whole team.
Yeah,
Or
facts.
what's probably more likely is force you to sacrifice something to a stored power so you can switch in a counter and watch Gardevoir switch out safely so he can do it again later. Um, Speaking of switching out, something that we brought up a lot with other teams is access to pivot moves.
Hmm.
That's something I noticed Alex does not have a lot of.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess so. He only really has two. Now that I think about it, unless Annihilate also gets it.
it might get U-turn.
But he's got U-turn on Slitherwing. He's got Volt Switch on the Magnezone. That's about it. But then being said, that he doesn't really need it because he doesn't have like. I mean,
Oh,
pivoting is also
Annihilate
really
does get
good.
U-turn. Annihilate does get U-turn.
Okay, yeah, that's
Um,
fair. But
but yeah, what I was gonna mention though is, although he doesn't have like the best pivot options, he does have Annihilate, which does not mind taking little chip damage every now and again, so it can come back and
hmm,
Rage Fist to win the game. Um, but he also has Slitherwing with a priority first impression.
that's always
That
strong.
it doesn't matter if something else comes in, it's always going to be strong no matter what, and you can't outspeed it. So
Definitely not because it's what? Yeah, priority on the
it's
first turn.
is it +2 priority?
I don't know, but I
Maybe?
would say
I don't know.
I think it's just +1, but it is still priority nonetheless.
Yeah.
Extreme speed is
Um,
+2.
I don't. Yeah. Uh, Tyranitar is a very interesting pick here.
It has fallen off in
I
Gen 9, and unfortunately, it's not allowed to Terra.
well, the trouble with Tyranitar though is in the main meta, it's fallen off because Terra is such a good mechanic, and it is. So the main reason Tyranitar has fallen off is because Great Tusk exists, and Great Tusk inherently beats Tyranitar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And there's no abusers of sand in the metagame. If Excadrill came back, I would not be surprised if Tyranitar shot back up to OU.
True.
But without a Sand Rush, or like if Last Respects wasn't banned, then Tyranitar would also be an OU. But the things that make Tyranitar good over the years have been going away. He doesn't have Pursuit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any good Sand Rush abusers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many things that exist now, like Great Tusk, that just shut Tyranitar down.
Yeah. Finally, that typing was the only thing that would, like, people would be like, yeah, Tyranitar is great, but it's got a horrible defensive typing. But even without that, it was still running OU. And now that it's finally come to get him because they took away his main things that made him good. So now he just has those weaknesses.
In OU, Tyranitars will often run Ice Beam as a main coverage move. Is ridiculous, but that's what the state of the game has led to. He needs that for Great Tusk and all the other powerful Pokemon. But in a draft league where there's no Terra type and things are a bit more restrictive, Tyranitar still has these weaknesses, but
I think he can shine a lot more.
But he could probably shine a bit more because everything can't Terra type. Also, Alex's team does not necessarily benefit from sand much.
Yeah, I was thinking he could probably switch like the Lycanroc, maybe drop a couple Pokemon to pick up Lycanroc Dusk, which could take advantage of sand, but he doesn't need to. Right? I mean, the main thing is that he can use, or did I say Lycanroc Dusk?
You said Dusk.
I meant Lycanroc Midday.
The regular one, yeah.
My bad. But main thing is that the Sand Stream could be useful for is to eliminate like leftovers healing. That's how Tyranitar is used in Gen 3 OU, is that you bring it out and, you know, all of a sudden those bulky Pokemon that rely on that passive healing can't anymore.
Yeah, but the power level in these generations has risen to a level where it's almost negligible. I like Bronzong and Toxapex as the Terra Captain choices.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Opting for more of like a defensive.
Yeah, like there's neither of those Pokemon are like, yes, Bronzong can hit you pretty hard with Psychic or Gyro Ball or something, but neither of them are really known for their just straight up offensive power. Mm-hmm. So it's very clear that he's going to be using some kind of defensive Terra types in these games.
And then
the only question is what types is he going to use? It's probably dependent on, you know, his opponent's teams.
Yeah, I find it very, very interesting that he didn't go for like, because Charizard was down there. He could have done Terra, terrestrialized Charizard with the belly drum.
Like even like Terra Fire.
Yeah.
Makes Charizard far less weak to the Rock type, and suddenly a far more interesting choice for these teams. But I mean, also with Sand up, like Charizard has solar power and likes there to be sun, and he has Slitherwing that likes there to be sun, and yes, he could use Booster Energy with Slitherwing, but it almost feels like Alex wishes he could have had Torkoal instead of Tyranitar.
Probably so, yeah.
Just because it benefits a couple of his team members just a little bit more.
Yeah, the Sand with the Tyranitar definitely isn't the best synergy, but
yeah, he has 6 things that are immune to Sand, but none of them like Sand.
None of them, directly benefit from Sand.
Lycanroc Dusk gets defense boost, and Tyranitar gets defense boost, but that's it.
Yeah, nothing crazy like a sweeper, like how I have Slush Rush with Satitan, and Frostmoth with Ice.
It has Torkoal and Chi-Yu or Booster Energy, Iron Moth.
Exactly.
I'm a big fan of Magnezone. Magnezone has... Everyone seems to focus in on how Magnezone is quad weak to the ground type, and they always forget that Magnezone has one of the most diverse defensive coverages, like profiles in the entire game. It has so many resistances. Yes, it's quad weak to ground type, but it hits like a nuke, and it's if last season I would invest pretty much exclusively into special defense and HP sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Magnezone would just sit there, survive, and because it has the ability analytic, that gives it a 30% boost to its attacks when it goes last. So it is a great defensive wall that also can hit back really hard. I feel
It's
like Magnezone probably should be a staple on his team.
it's
It
very similar that explanation is very similar to why I like Skeletor so much. Is because
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
great defensive wall that can also like punch holes through teams.
Speaking of defensive walls, Mudsdale is probably the be all end all physical wall right now. I mean, like I know Ting-Lu exists, but because of Mudsdale's high HP and defense stat and stamina, which just perpetually boosts its um,
Its
defense
defense
stat,
stat.
and it has body press, uh, and earthquake and all these other moves. It's like Mudsdale too is no joke, and unless you're using like a physical water move or a physical ice move or something, I know you've got plenty of those, but I
Yeah,
mean
for sure.
most normal people don't. Uh,
Hey,
uh, but yeah, unless you've got sorry, I should clarify. Unless you've got like a special ice move or a special water move or something like that that can shut down his ground type on the other spectrum, even like even like an icicle spear, because he boosts. I had that interaction with Ben in season 1 where I used Cloister icicle
yeah,
spear
I
Mudsdale,
remember that.
and with Shell Smash, and Mudsdale survived.
It still survived. Yeah,
It,
because each hit
it skill
procced its
link,
stamina.
skill link, Shell Smash, Stab, Icicle Spear, because each hit procced the
Hmm.
defense boost.
Man, if he clicked body
Yeah,
press that turn,
oh yeah,
oh my.
Alex has a very exciting team. Um,
One thing I will
I
say
know,
that I
I
think is very
oh, yeah.
poetic, if I can just interrupt you for a quick second, is that last
Yeah, go ahead.
season, Alex had the fastest, one of the fastest drafts, and Ben had the slowest draft in the league, and now that is completely swapped, where Ben has the absolute fastest, and now Alex has the absolute slowest.
Oh yeah, Alex has a strange mix of like Annihilate and Gardevoir and like very powerful offensive Pokemon
Mm-hmm.
intertwined with like Bronzong and Toxapex and Mudsdale and Pokemon that I'll say don't do much besides take hits. So I think we had a team like that before. Who is it?
Want me to go back?
No, it was sorry, you don't have to go back. It was Josh's team where
Right.
he has three like fast like offensive Pokemon that are very frail and then three very defensive Pokemon. I feel like Alex has a similar thing where he's got things that are very powerful and things that are very defensive, but I don't think there's a lot of uh, synergy necessarily. But
Between
I'd
them.
love to be proven wrong. He was the winner last season, so he's clearly got something between his ears.
Hold on. Let him cook. Let him cook this season. We'll
I'll
see
let
what's
yeah,
going on.
we'll see what he comes up with. But um,
I
from a
guess.
surface level, I don't see exactly the direction his team is going. Maybe a clever trade here or there could
Mm-hmm.
change things up.
Could
But
give his team some more direction. I feel like what they're looking for. Because yeah,
mhm,
he's got some strong Pokemon. Individually, they're very strong, but there's not a lot of team synergy going on in terms of like abilities or typing. It's a little
uh,
sporadic.
yeah. So, anyways, I think I have no idea how long this video is. This might be the longest video we've ever made. Um, I don't know if you're gonna edit
Probably.
it down at all.
Who
You
knows?
should. You shouldn't. I think it'll be fun. And anybody who sits through this whole thing, thank you so much for joining us. We're not done yet, though. Um,
What do you mean we're
so
not done yet?
I want I wanted to mention, just reiterating that season 2 is not starting yet. We've been done with season 1 for a long time, but we wanted to make sure all of the videos for season 1 were finished before we did anything uh season 2, because for season 2 we want to be on a consistent schedule. This is something that I'm kind of frontlining here, but for season 2, generally the idea is, for our lovely subscriber base, we're going to be doing battles once every week, and then every single week there will be one main upload that follows like the week after. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if we have a battle on one Sunday, the following Sunday there should be another video up, and that way we don't have such a staggered, irregular release schedule, and you know when to expect roughly new videos to come out. And hopefully, if people jump in on this, I think doing more side projects like interviews, or making makes if someone else makes a video about something that they found interesting, or like the interviews are one thing, but if someone tries to stir up like some controversy somewhere, anything,
Yeah, for
uh,
sure.
I'm hoping we can, besides the main uploads, have a little bit more extra stuff thrown in there too.
Yeah, I think with this new system that we're gonna implement, is gonna be one, a lot more concise for the viewers. They won't have a million videos to watch that are all like 20 minutes, and it's gonna be a lot more dense or condensed down.
Yeah, it's just,
And
there might be longer videos. There might still be longer videos,
yeah,
but
for
the
sure.
goal is for it to be condensed, so you're not watching four 28-minute videos a week. You might watch one 30-minute video for that whole week.
Hmm. I think it'll be more. It might be a mix of more work and less work, if that makes any sense for like for the people that are producing the content,
There's,
because
there's also if we can, if we can make the organization work as the intended plan is, then there's also going to be a lot less confusion, because historically we've been pretty much first come first serve, just claiming battles to do videos on, and that has slowed things down a lot. And someone might take a couple weeks to make one video just because they claimed it, but they're not jumping to get it done.
yeah.
And I'm not calling anyone out there. I think I did that once. Uh,
I've
but
done that a
this
couple times.
way, yeah, but this way we can have a more focused schedule. And alongside that, this is something I'm really excited to announce. Uh, Along with our main uploads, we tend to do big battle nights on like Sundays. That's where we do all of these battles for these games. Sometimes people do it earlier or later. They have to, but when we can, we try to get all of the battles for that week done on one night in one session that we're all watching. And we want to capitalize on that and turn those into live streams. So there will be, uh, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are Sunday nights. We
Hmm.
don't have a time yet, but Sunday nights we'll be doing a live stream with all of our draft battles happening in a row every week. And these the VODs for those will also be posted separately. So for those of you who want to watch the entire video turn by turn and enjoy seeing that, or want to hear us just commentating live and our bickering and jokes the whole time, that's what you'll get that there. But if you want a more concise breakdown or analysis, that's what these main uploads are going to be for every other week.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really like
Just
about.
an expectation now.
Yeah, one thing I really like is like the genuine reaction of like something crazy going on. The
Yeah, that's something we
suspense.
missed last time. Is I I'm gonna say a name here, but I'm not calling him out. But like, I noticed in like some of Kyle's videos, he would act surprised when something happens, but you can tell it's like very artificial. It's
Yeah.
okay, yeah, he's seen this 3 times and he's going, "Whoa, what was that?" Like, I like it. I love the energy, but if we can take instead a live stream and have all of us, chit chatting away in some Discord call while we're watching a game, and then some crazy play happens that none of us saw coming, and we're all screaming and yelling.
Like,
That's
whoa!
what you
Holy
can't
shit!
capture. That's what I want to have a record of. So uh, for any of the players who might be listening in, however long we've been talking, and are still around and paying attention, uh, that means bring your A game this season. I want to see weird strategies. I want to see people going for things that are unorthodox or have no chance of working except for the 1%, like 1 in a million odds that this works. I want you guys to, you know,
I,
blow our minds.
I want to see some heat this draft season. I want to see
Yeah,
some
yeah.
fire sets going off. And hey, maybe we might
Although
highlight them.
although I although I don't want to see a lot of fire from William, please,
Yes,
no Sun, no Chiyu. Just you
please
don't
keep the
have to.
fire away.
Yeah,
No fire blast specs
uh,
Chiyu for me, please. I much prefer
he
you
doesn't
not.
need fire blast. He could just use flamethrower or overheat. He has overheat.
That's true. Let's call it
Oh,
around here.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
All
A
right.
15-minute video,
Yeah, great.
short,
Uh,
short and sweet.
about as short as my intro for my week 9 video that I did. Yeah,
We accidentally made a feature-length film just now, but it's fine.
it's fine. People can listen to it. It's whatever. All
Yeah,
right.
I'll probably listen to this uh twice in its entirety, and you should too, as well as leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that silly little bell button to get notifications in all of our uploads. There's a lot to expect coming up, and if I were you, I wouldn't want to miss it.
Yes.
So
Everybody, please give us a like, a follow, because you're gonna see some absolute fire gameplay here.
fire, absolute fire
Absolutely
gameplay.
fire. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed that. Have a good rest of your day, morning, night, and thank you for watching.